Hi friends, my name is Liza and welcome to my book club. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Liza and I am your resident fantasy and romance reader. And today I want to talk about one of my favorite subgenres in romance, reverse harem. So I consider myself to be somewhat of a wide shoes connoisseur. It's one of my favorite subgenres in romance, and today I have picked out 5 wide shoes romances that I think you should read right now. I will give you all the details that you need to know to decide whether or not you should pick up the book while keeping everything completely spoiler free so you can go in fresh, no spoilers here. Grab a drink, grab a blanket, light a candle, set the ambiance, and let's get into it. Reverse harem is also known as wide shoes, and if you're not familiar with reverse harem or wide shoes, it's basically when a female main character has multiple love interests. You know when you read a book and there's like a love triangle and she has to end up choosing one of the love interests? Well, in reverse harem, she simply doesn't. She simply does not choose, and they end up either in a polycule where everybody or pieces of the harem are together as like a unit, or it's a female main character that has more than one love interest. So instead of a triangle, it's more like a octagon or like a pentagon, a sexagon maybe. Why pick a snack when you could have the whole buffet? You know what I mean? But the first wide shoes I have to recommend to you is Ensnared by Rebecca Quinn. This is the first in the Bristlebrook Brutes series. It's kind of hard for me to say, Bristlebrook Brutes series, that just finished this summer. The last book in the series was released. I haven't read it yet, but I'm so excited to do so. It is a post-apocalyptic reverse harem. So if you like your romances with a side of danger and survival, this one is the one for you. Ensnared is set in the aftermath of a collapsed society where resources like electricity, food, water, medicine, shelter are scarce, and trust is even scarcer. This is a society where community is extremely important because being by yourself means that you are in danger. You are a really easy target. So when our female main character ends up running across a group of ex-military men, she's not really in any position to refuse when they offer her the proposition of a lifetime. These are 5 ex-military men who are extremely lonely in a post-apocalyptic society, so I will let you come to your own conclusions about what that proposition was. I think we're on the same page. And yes, you are correct. These men are protective, brooding brutes, if you will. And most importantly, they have all of the resources that she needs to survive. This is the first book in a series, and there is MM in some of the later books. I really enjoyed this series. I didn't think that I would love a reverse harem about military men so much, but I really do. I think this is good for fans of The Walking Dead. There's no zombies or anything like that, but it's kind of like that vibe. There is some darker themes that occur in later books, but there are no dark themes or non-consensual aspects between the main characters. It has a 4.17 overall star rating on Goodreads, and I do think that that is very indicative of what you can expect. In my opinion, the first book, Ensnared, is the worst one in the series, and I still rated it 4 stars. This one was one of my faves. My next recommendation is Stolen by Wolves by Likes Robinson. Stolen by Wolves is a Viking Norse mythology inspired Omega-verse reverse harem. That's a lot, and you'd think that it wouldn't work because there's so many things going on, but it really does. This is probably one of, if not my favorite reverse harem that I have ever read. It is a thick girl, okay? She's a big book. And there's a lot of world building, a lot of build up, a lot of lore that you have to get through in order to follow the romance and kind of what's going on in the book. However, I really like that stuff. I'm an avid fantasy reader, so reading about languages and history, architecture, religion, all of that stuff is extremely interesting to me. So to have that combined with Omegaverse And Why Choose was so unique, interesting, and well done in this book that I thought that it was unlike any other reverse harem I have ever read. Our female main character is kidnapped by a group of wolves. I put wolves in quotations because they're not actually wolf shifters, which confused me when I first read this book, because typically when you have Omegaverse and then also like wolves, it is a shifter romance, but this is not a shifter romance. It is Omegaverse. They do call themselves wolves, but they are not shifters. There's a lot of raw elemental magic elements to this book. Lots of found family vibes and like, I want to say fated mates, but like a little kind of. Since this is such an epic fantasy, it doesn't start out as a reverse harem. The first book in the series is a just one-on-one female to male character romance, and that reverse harem or why choose aspect doesn't incorporate until later on in the series, and it does so very slowly. If you like epic fantasy, lots of lore, lots of historical, political context, and plots, then Stolen by Wolves is the one for you. Overall, it has a 4.01 rating on Goodreads, and I do think that that is well deserved. I rated this 5 stars. My next recommendation is A Curse of Fate by Jaymin Eve. Jaymin Eve is a very well-known, very prolific author of Why Choose romance novels. She's like the queen of Kindle Unlimited. I feel like I've read like 20 books by her at this point. So A Curse of Fate is a shifter romance. It is not an Omegaverse like many of Jaymin Eve's previous novels. And it is an urban fantasy. Our female main character has been on the run for most of her life. She believes that if she ever bonds to a pack, then it would be the end of her life. When she's kidnapped by a pack of shifters and taken back to their community called Golden Claw, which is kind of like this like HOA style political community suburbia for shifters, she is surrounded by a pack of men that are bringing nothing but good things to her life. And she's like, hold up, this is suspicious. Nothing good ever comes to me. I'm destined to have a horrible fate. Why are all of these men taking care of me? Meanwhile, there are other men in the community that are trying to take her. There's a lot of action in this series, a little bit of mystery, and a lot of tension. There's something about shifter romances that are so incredibly like bingeable to me. I feel like I can read 20 shifter romances, and if they all have the same exact plot, I'm still eating them up. That is how I felt when I read A Curse of Fate. It follows that same pattern and that same textbook Jaymin Eve plot lines, but I still ate it up. Yeah, I did. I still ate it up. I still loved it. A Curse of Fate has an overall Goodreads rating of 4.27 stars, and I do think it deserves that. I ended up rating it 5 stars. A Curse of Fate has a lot of found family in it, so if that is your thing, if that's something that you love, I think this one's the one for you. I feel like most of the time when I rate Why Choose books, I'm simply vibing. If I'm vibing, 5 stars. Okay, so my next recommendation, my next recommendation is Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Hellen. Elizabeth Hellen is an author duo, and oh my gosh, do they have synergy. Like, this author duo, they must share one brain because it is so freaking good. Bonded by Thorns is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but twisted through the lens of fantasy romance and Why Choose. I'm sorry for all the Disney lovers out there that ended up as dirty little that like to read erotica like me. This is the one. This is the one. Our female main character is drawn through a portal into this fantasy world where the cursed beast is not one man, but a group of princes that oversee different fairy realms. So like the summer, winter, spring, fall courts. Each of them is bound to their court and to this house that they live in a very specific way. There's a lot of world building, a lot of enchantment, and it is a slow build romance. I wouldn't necessarily call it slow burn, but it is a slow build into forming these relationships with each individual man in the harem. The magic system feels like fall, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like I should have a blanket and a hot cup of tea in front of a fireplace, and that's the whole book. Even when we're traveling into the other like summer and spring realms, it still has this overarching aesthetic of like dark academia almost. It does have MM in later books, some really spicy, really good MM if I do say so myself. And it is the first in a series. The overall Goodreads rating for Bonded by Thorns is 3.92 stars, and I do feel like that is pretty indicative of how I feel about it. I ended up rating it 4 stars, but I do think the books get better as you go on. And the last recommendation I have today is Feral Omega by Lenore Rosewood. And this one is for all my freaky little girls out there that like stories about masked men. If you fantasize about Ghost or Scream, this one's for you. This book is absolutely addictive, dark, raw, very gritty. It is another post-apocalyptic reverse harem. There are no shifters. It almost feels like post-apocalyptic steampunk in some ways. The female main character is an Omega, and Omegas in this universe are in like almost like facilities where they are trained to be good Omegas, and she is known as a feral Omega because she refuses to do any of that. She's known for biting fingers off, like punching, kicking, fighting, and so they have her in isolation until she is given to the Ghost Alpha unit, which is kind of like a hardcore post-apocalyptic military group that's in charge of going into really dangerous situations and kind of taking care of things. The facility that gave her to these alphas is not even sure if she will survive this group of alphas. They are that unhinged and that cuckoo crazy, but they honestly don't care at this point because she was a feral Omega and she wasn't serving them in any way anymore, so they throw her to the wolves basically. What they weren't accounting for was for her to forge some really intense, unbreakable bonds with the alphas of this pack. This one is very, very fast paced. I think my biggest complaint with this one was that the romance kind of shifted from enemies to lovers a little too quickly and abruptly, but I still feel like there is that basis of romance to build upon. And the overall Goodreads rating is 3.89 stars, which I do feel is pretty accurate. I ended up giving it 4 stars. This series, I do think gets better as you go on as well. That is it for today. Those were 5 reverse harem or why choose books that I think you should read right now. If you have read any of these books, please let me know in the comments below what you thought. Did you like them? Did you love them? Did you hate them? If you've never read a why choose or reverse harem book before, I do feel like this is a pretty good list of books to start with. We have anything from Viking or Norse mythology inspired to post-apocalyptic, to Omegaverse, to shifter romances. If you have an absolutely god tier reverse harem recommendation, please leave it in the comments below. I'm always looking for new books to add to my TBR. If you like this video, I say subscribe. Hit the like button. Follow along if you want more fantasy or romance book recommendations. Be safe, and I will see you next time. Bye!